Foreclosure filings are up 14% year over year. REO inventory jumped 45% in the first quarter. Colorado's REO market tripled, and FHA delinquencies just hit a 5-year high. That means one thing: your pipeline is thicker, your competition is faster, and your opportunity is now. Let's talk about it, all on the REOBroker Real Estate News Update.
Welcome to the REOBroker Real Estate News Update. I'm Mike Sanborn, Executive Director of REOBroker, where we do more than just sell REO.
And I'm Brandi Nelson, Executive Director of REOBroker. This month, we're tracking 3 critical developments in the default industry that will directly affect your business opportunities. First, foreclosure activity is accelerating. National filings are up 14% year over year, and completed foreclosures, REOs, coming into inventory are up 6%. That means asset managers are seeing more pipeline pressure, and they need experienced brokers. Second, regional divergence is creating specific opportunities. Colorado, Alabama, Washington, and Florida are seeing explosive REO growth, while other markets are cool. If you're in the right territory, this is boom cycle intelligence. Third, the FHA delinquency problem is worsening. FHA loans are delinquent at 11.5%. That's 6 times higher than conventional loans. That means first-time buyers and lower-income homeowners are in distress. More pipeline, more REO coming. These numbers matter to your bottom line. Let's break down what they mean.
This month's first report comes from Adam Data Solutions, the leading provider of foreclosure and REO market intelligence. According to their May 2026 foreclosure market report, released just last week, here's what we're seeing nationally. In May alone, 40,355 properties had foreclosure filings. That's up 14% compared to May of 2025. Foreclosure starts. That's the first step. The next notice of default and the list pendants climbed 13% year over year to 27,304 in May. And completed foreclosures, the REOs actually repossessed and in lender inventory rose 6% annually to 4,092 properties in a single month.
Now let's look at the quarterly picture, because the trend is even clearer there. In the first quarter of 2026, we saw 118,727 properties with foreclosure filings across the country. That's up 26% from quarter 1, 2025. Foreclosure starts in quarter 1 hit 82,631, which is up 20% year over year. And the real estate owned inventory, completed foreclosures that the banks now own, jumped to 14,020 properties. That was up 45% from quarter 1, 2025. What that number, 45% increase in REO completions, means is simple. The foreclosure pipeline is flowing faster. Banks and servicers are working through cases more efficiently. The backlog from the pandemic is clearing.
Properties that went through foreclosure in quarter 1, 2026 spent an average of 577 days in the process. That's down 14% from quarter 1 of 2025, where they spent 671 days on average. 6 consecutive quarters of declining timelines. Courts and services are moving faster. But here's where it matters. Not all states are created equal. Let's look at Colorado. In the first quarter of 2025, they had 99 REO repossessions. In quarter 1 of 2026, they had 321. That's more than triple. Alabama almost double. Washington more than double. Florida, which was already the largest REO state, added over 500 additional properties. Texas now is the volume leader. 644 REOs in April alone. Florida is the rate leader. 1 in every 750 housing units in Florida is in foreclosure. That's the highest state rate in the nation. Meanwhile, some markets are cooling. Chicago, Atlanta, Kansas City all saw declines. Atlanta specifically dropped from 213 REOs to 52 year over year. Diametrically opposite market dynamics. One market may be in a boom, the other one may be in a bust.
Here's the strategic read on this data. When national foreclosure filings accelerate like this, and especially when REO completions jump 45%, asset managers feel operational pressure first. Servicers are drowning in pipeline work, loss mitigation, document processing, attorney oversight, vendor management. The foreclosure department doesn't work in isolation. It touches everything. That pressure translates into one decision at the asset manager level: selectivity. When they have to move volume, they don't have time to develop new broker relationships. They rely on brokers they know, brokers with experience, brokers with a track record. REOBroker.com members are those brokers that asset managers are looking for. The second dynamic is regional opportunity. When Colorado's REO inventory triples year over year, and an asset manager has a Colorado portfolio that's suddenly much larger, they need a Colorado broker who could handle the surge. They need someone with existing relationships in the market, existing infrastructure, and existing capital. Our exclusive territory model does exactly that. One REO broker member per market. That member owns the relationship. That member builds the capacity. A broker without a network sees this data and panics. An REO broker member sees it and calculates how many more BPOs they can perform, how much more capacity they need, and they plan accordingly. The third dynamic is speed. Foreclosure timelines are declining. 577 days down from 671 days. That's 94 days faster. Asset managers who could close cases faster, who could disposition REO faster, who could clear the balance sheet faster, have a competitive advantage. Our members' experience in their specific markets means they know the local court timelines, the local title issues, the local investor appetite. They move faster than an out-of-market broker. This is data-driven advantage for experienced brokers in established networks. That's REO broker territory.
If you are in a conversation with an asset manager right now, here's what you should know and what you should do. First, your pipeline is thicker than it was last year. Foreclosure starts are up 13% nationally. That means more files are coming your way. If you have the right relationship, that's a capacity question. Pull your last 12 months of intake data. You'll see that the inflection point where volume started increasing. Second, timelines are compressing. Foreclosure cases that took 671 days in quarter one of 2025 now take only 577 days, 94 days faster. If you haven't optimized your timeline, if you're still processing the cases the way you did 2 years ago, you're slow compared to the market benchmark. That's a conversation with your asset manager contacts. Here's how fast we're moving. Here's our average timeline. How does that compare to your benchmark? Third, your region matters. If you're in Colorado, Alabama, Washington, or Florida, your market is booming. If you're in Chicago or Atlanta, your market is cooling. You need to know which market you are in. This determines your strategy. If you're in a growth market, you need capacity. If you're in a cooling market, you need to differentiate yourself on your service and your relationships. For your next call with an asset manager, REO company, or servicer, ask this question. REO volume is up 13% nationally. What's the trend in your territory? You'll learn whether your specific market is growing faster or slower than the national average. That's the intelligence that drives the business development you will need.
Now let's talk about the developing crisis at FHA. Our second report comes from the Mortgage Bankers Association National Delinquency Survey. This one is critical because it tells us which borrowers are about to enter the foreclosure pipeline. According to the MBA's Quarter 1 2026 National Delinquency Survey, the overall mortgage delinquency rate, that's borrowers who are 30 or more days behind on payments, is 4.44% of all loans. That's up 40 basis points year over year. But that overall number is hiding a crisis.
When you break the data down by loan type, here's what you see. Conventional loans, loans for borrowers with a good credit and 20% down are at a 1.8% delinquency rate. That's essentially normal. Conventional borrowers are performing. VO military loans are roughly at 3.8 delinquency rate, but manageable. FHA loans, mortgages for the first-time buyers, lower income borrowers, borrowers with credit scores below 620, people putting down 3.5% are at 11.5% delinquency. Let me say that again. FHA loans are delinquent at 11.5%. Conventional loans at 1.8%. That's a 6.4% multiplier. FHA borrowers are falling at more than 6 times the rate of conventional buyers. This is not normal in market dynamics. This is a crisis in the FHA segment. In quarter 4, 2025, FHA delinquencies were at 10.26%. By quarter 1 of 2026, they climbed to 11.5% trajectory. That is up. What's driving this? First, affordability. FHA borrowers have smallest income buffer when the inflation hits, when the insurance cost spikes, when the property taxes rise. FHA borrowers feel it first and feel it hardest. These are people who put down 3.5% and have no margin for error. Second, mortgage rates. FHA borrowers typically have lower credit scores, which means they pay higher rates. Someone with a 580 FICO paying 7.5% on a $200,000 property is in a much tighter position than someone with a 760 FICO score paying 6.5%. Third, concentrated vulnerability. FHA loans are concentrated in first-time home buyers and much lower income demographics. When a demographic is under financial stress, which it is right now, you see delinquencies spike.
Here's what this FHA data means operationally. You have incoming REO inventory. Delinquencies lead foreclosure starts by 4 to 8 months, when 11.5% of FHA loans are 30 or more days delinquent right now. In quarter 2, 2026, that tells us that foreclosure starts in quarter 3 and quarter 4, 2026 will be elevated. REO inventory will follow. Most of that REO will be single-family residential in lower income and first-time buyer markets, urban centers, metropolitan areas where FHA is most concentrated. The property values will be lower. FHA loans max out around $420,000 for most markets. The condition will be variable. Some of these are owner-occupied, and some have been heavily lived in. Some have deferred maintenance. The turnaround timeline will be longer than a well-maintained conventional REO, but the volume is coming, and volume creates opportunity. For REO broker members, this means 2 things. First, your FHA experience and your experience in lower income markets becomes a competitive advantage. Asset managers know that FHA REO requires a different marketing approach, different buyer targeting, different financing facilitation. Not every broker wants to deal with it. We want experienced brokers in those markets. Second, this is a geographic concentration play. FHA REO clusters in specific metropolitan areas like Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Miami, Houston. Our members in those markets should be modeling out FHA inventory spikes and capacity planning now. If you work in an FHA heavy market and most major metropolitan areas, this data is your business development roadmap. First, know your market's FHA concentration. What percentage of mortgages in your territory are FHA insured? If it's above 25%, you're in a high FHA market. That means when FHA delinquencies spike, your REO volume spikes proportionally. Second, FHA delinquencies are at 11.5% and rising. That's the highest in 5 years. That's not speculation, that's data. You should be positioning yourself to your asset manager contacts. I'm in an FHA market. I'm prepared for inventory growth in quarter 3 and quarter 4. Here's my capacity model. Here's how I handle lower cost properties. Here's my turnaround timeline. Third, positioning matters. If you're a luxury-focused broker in a lower income market, FHA REO isn't your niche. If you're experienced in the first-time buyer space, if you understand FHA processes, If you have relationships with FHA experienced lenders and buyers, that's your opening. Your action. Pull delinquency data for your specific market from the MBA or FRED websites. Compare your region's FHA delinquency rate to the national 11.5%. If you're above 11.5%, your market is even hotter. If you're below, you're slightly cooler. That tells you where the inventory is coming from. Our third report also comes from Adam's comprehensive Q1 2026 data. This one focuses on something critical that asset managers track obsessively: how fast cases move through the system. In Q1 2026, the average foreclosure case spent 577 days in the pipeline. That's the time from the first filing, notice of default or list pendants, to the completed foreclosure and bank repossession. That's down 14% from a year ago, down 3% from the previous quarter. This is 6 consecutive quarters of declining timelines. What that means? Foreclosure cases that took 22 months 2 years ago are now taking 19 months. That's significant for asset managers managing large portfolios. 3 months of faster resolution across a 500 property portfolio is 3 months of faster capital recovery, lower servicing cost, lower loss mitigation spent. But the state variation is huge. States with the shortest average timelines, the fastest moving cases, are Texas at 165 days, West Virginia at 178 days, and Alaska at 192 days. These are non-judicial or fast timeline states with streamlined court processes. States with the longest average timelines, and I mean this is judicial process hell, are Louisiana at 3,140 days, Hawaii at 2,119 days, and New York at 1,911 days. Let's look at Louisiana, 3,140 days. That's 8.6 years. A borrower in Louisiana enters default, and if the case runs the full judicial timeline with redemption period and appeal, it could take nearly a decade to complete the foreclosure. That is not a speed market. That is a relationship market where experienced brokers and attorneys are essential because the timeline is so long. Texas, on the other hand, is a non-judicial state where the trustee's sale can happen in 150 to 180 days from the notice. REOBroker members in Texas can close cases in 6 months. REOBroker members in Louisiana is looking at a 5-year plus timelines.
This timeline data is not abstract that Brandi's talking about. It directly determines how a broker operates and what they can offer an asset manager. A fast timeline states like Texas, an asset manager wants a high volume broker. They want someone that can manage 20, 30, or 40 cases in a month. Hit the 165-day timeline consistently and keep capital turning over. Operational efficiency is the value prop. In slow timeline states like Louisiana or New York, an asset manager wants a relationship broker. They want someone deeply embedded in the local legal community. They want experience managing the long redemption periods with relationships with the local title companies, bankruptcy attorneys. The timeline is the constraint. The relationship will be the solution. REOBroker members operating in different states need different business models. A Texas REOBroker member is a volume operation. A New York REOBroker member is a relationship operation. Both are profitable. Both are necessary. Both require expertise. The key is knowing which market you're in and building your operating model accordingly. The timeline trend data tells you which direction to emphasize, volume or relationships.
Timeline data is your operational benchmark. It tells you how fast your market works. First, know your state's average timeline. Is it fast, medium, or slow? If you're in Texas, you're in a 165-day market. If you're in Louisiana, you're in a multi-year market. Those are completely different business models. Second, declining timelines means competition is accelerating. If your state's average timeline dropped 14% year over year, that means every broker is moving faster. If you haven't optimized your case management, your documentation, your title coordination, you're falling behind. Third, speed is a sales tool. Tell your asset manager contacts, my state average is 577 days. My average last year was 604 days. I'm 4.5 faster than the state benchmark. As an example, that's a concrete competitive advantage. Get your state's average timeline from Adams public data or from your state title association. Then pull your own case data. Calculate your average timeline. Compare it to the state benchmark. If you're above benchmark, faster than the average broker in your state, that's a talking point with your asset managers. If you're below, that's a process improvement project. This month, we covered 3 critical trends. 1, foreclosure activity is accelerating. National filings are up 14% year over year. Completed foreclosures are up 45% in just quarter 1. That means asset managers have more pipeline, more pressure, and they're tightening member selection. They want brokers. They want brokers they trust. They want brokers with experience. 2, the FHA delinquency crisis is real and it is worsening. FHA loans are delinquent at 11.5%, which is 6 times the conventional rate. That means significant FHA REO inventory is coming in quarter 3 and quarter 4 of 2026. If you're in an FHA market, you need to be positioning for it now. 3, foreclosure timelines are declining. Cases that took 671 days in quarter 1 of 2025 now take 577 days. That's faster competition, faster capital recovery for asset managers, and faster portfolio turnover for brokers who operate efficiently. What ties these 3 things together? This. The default industry is under operational pressure. Asset managers have more volume, tighter capital, faster timelines, and more complex inventory. That's not a crisis for brokers, that's an opportunity. But only for experienced, specialized brokers operating in established networks. REOBroker.com exists for exactly this moment. We are the first and original default industry network in the United States, founded over 30 years ago. We are the only network offering members exclusive territories. 1 broker, 1 market, no competition from within the network. That's powerful when volume is accelerating and asset managers need focused, dedicated service. Our members average 12 or more years of REO specific experience. We are not a volume brokerage. We are a specialized network. When asset managers are selective, and this data shows that they choose experienced specialists. We have 100 plus active members across all 50 states. We have coverage. We have capacity. We understand every regional market and every state foreclosure regime. And we are building the only comprehensive multimedia platform in the REO industry. Television, podcast, magazine, market intelligence. No other REO network offers what we offer. No competing network has invested in thought leadership and education the way REOBroker.com has.
If you are an experienced REO broker, which is tired of competing on price with every broker in your market, if you want an exclusive territory, if you want access to a national network of experienced peers, if you want to work with asset managers who know you have the skin in the game because you're the only REO broker member in your market, then REOBroker.com is for you. Join REOBroker.com where we can do more than just sell REO.
Contact Brandi Nelson at 760-238-0552 or email Brandi@REOBroker.com. To learn more about REO and to become a member, visit REOBroker.com and download the Power Is Now TV app on your phone or streaming device. We're streaming, podcasting, and publishing stories about the top agents who are members of REO Broker, providing real estate REO news, the REO Agent Spotlight, and the REO Roundtable. You could also catch every episode of our shows on the Powers Now TV network, streaming 24/7 on Apple TV, Roku, or Amazon Fire TV. Just search for REOBroker.com TV or watch directly at REOBroker.com/TV. Prefer to listen on the go? Tune in to the REOBroker.com podcast, part of the Powers Now TV podcast network, available on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to connect with us. Follow REOBroker.com across all social media platforms, subscribe to our YouTube channel for our updates, and join our professional community on Active Rain and Set Schedule. Stay connected, stay informed, and stay inspired with REO Broker, because we do more than sell REO. We build relationships, opportunities, and communities. Thank you for watching the REO News Update, and have a great day.
Everyone knows the power of social media and the impact a strong online presence has in this day and age. But most real estate agents simply do not have the time to manage all the advertising and marketing details, and that's where the Powers Now Media steps in. We are the answer you have been looking for. Let us help put your brand on the map. We will create customized graphics for weekly full-page ads, social media content, video, and podcast content for you. Sound complicated and expensive? It is affordable and easy. We have the best experts on the job. Go to thepowerisnow.com and find us under the VIP Agent tab to learn more. This is the future of real estate. Join today. thepowerisnow.com.